Hi guys, it's Akemi, and this is Akemi Kai Inner Beauty, where we fix our outer world by going inward. And I like to talk about law of assumption and inner work. And I just wanted to put up a quick video today. We're heading into eclipse season. So I train in astrology. And I like to think of astrology as like the clock workings that drive the matrix. They are fate, essentially, the movements of the planets. It's kind of like a grandfather clock with or an old timepiece where you could see all the different sized circular gears, and all of them, and the speeds are different and the sizes of the gears are different, and they all interact in intersection, and overall they create time, right? That's kind of how I like to see astrology, as the gears that generate fate here. So I just wanted to pop on and talk quickly about this eclipse season and make a couple of recommendations for you to go and watch some other podcasts if it's something you wanted to dive into. I have a couple of recommendations, and I also wanted to share something with you, and then I'm going to keep it short because I do my own work during eclipse season, and so I won't be making content until after eclipse season. So I just want to leave you with some things. So we're heading into a full moon coming up this weekend, depending on where you are living in the world, what day that will actually fall on for you. You can look that up. But essentially, we started with the new moon last cycle. We're going to have a full moon. We're going to have a lunar eclipse, and then that's always followed by a solar eclipse. So you can dig into this stuff more deeply, and I will put below a couple of recommendations for links on YouTube to some very cool podcast episodes that you can listen to just hear about this eclipse season and what the themes are for this eclipse season. And astrology basically gives you your cosmic curriculum for your soul's evolutionary journey, what themes are being brought to the table for us to work on psychologically in our soul work right now at this time. So those podcasts that I'll put up will give you some fun podcasts to listen to while you're driving or whatever that talk about that. And I'm just going to briefly summarize how I use eclipse time. So I've done some advanced Qigong and meditation work over the years. I've been a meditator for 27 years, and I did that through the path of Chinese medicine and martial arts. So I have sort of a more Taoist, Buddhist bent, and the energy work that I did during those years opened up various energy channels in my body. I had a Kundalini experience, and I'm now open to some upper chakras that are connected to the planetary energies. That's something that was done in the past in Chinese culture. It's something I went through. So for me, I can actually tune in and feel the planetary energies, and I can feel them in my body the same way as we feel emotions. And so eclipse time is a particularly strong time. And it's also a time when a lot of powerful magic can be done. And when I'm talking about magic, I'm not talking about rituals and lighting candles and witchcraft. Probably a lot of us who are healers at this time have history of those kinds of things and have past lifetimes as well related to that, or ancestors who were possibly present for some of the major events in the world, like the witch hunts and things like that. So some of that can be running through our DNA, running through our lineages. But I want to just talk about how I use eclipses. And so the eclipse season, for me, it's a very strong portal. It's a portal that opens, and you can feel it. I can feel it. Maybe you can feel it when you tune into your meditation. It's like a hallway, It's like a very large, you can think of movies. I love to throw movies out there because they give us beautiful images. And so I want you to think of like some movies like Stargate or something, where you've seen movies like sci-fi kind of movies where there'll be some kind of a portal, some kind of a doorway, some kind of a gateway, like maybe it's ancient Egyptian technology or something like that. And they have, archaeologists have discovered this, and the secret division of the military is like using it to jump to other locations in the galaxy and things like that. So I want you to think of like a portal like that. I want you to think of the eclipse season of having that type of energy, where you basically have access to energy that is beyond this lifetime and beyond this planet, beyond your smaller personality that you're using every day to function in the world. You have access to a very large portal of energy. And the best way to use that portal every year when we have eclipse season, which we have every year, we have eclipses. We have a solar eclipse and a lunar eclipse. They follow each other. They're about 2 weeks apart. It happens every year. You can definitely start to use this time to do work. The way that I like to use them is to do a very specific type of work, which is large scale clearing work on my ancestral DNA, let's say. A lot of you have heard possibly the term being the black sheep of the family. Say people have talked to you about, oh, I'm the black sheep of the family, or maybe you yourself identify with that story. It's basically somebody who was born into a family and they don't fit in. Maybe the family is following some form of status quo, whether it's their cultural, religious, just whatever's going on in your family is following like a very specific sort of cultural norm of some type. Can be related to religion or race or culture that you live in, the country you live in, things like that. And one of those kids gets born and doesn't fit the mold, and their whole life they're kind of going against the grain. Lots of times those people will be artists. They could be people who come out as gay during their teen years, or they become artists, or they just do things that are unconventional, that kind of buck the trends of the family, right? And they're kind of looked at as the black sheep of the family. Well, in larger spiritual work, we often say that those souls are beings who've come in to be the curse breakers, the generational curse breakers, which is that they have a very special mission in this lifetime, that they are actually working to clear out old karmic patterns from their ancestral line. So they're actually in service, a great position of service in their families, and they might be treated very poorly by their families and their extended families in this lifetime. However, the amazing work that they do to forge their own way in life and to explore things outside of socially accepted norms that they were born into. They actually break up patterns in their family lines, their lineages, their ancestral lines. So I want you to think about the fact that we're all born into bodies, and we all are born into bodies that carry DNA of our ancestors. So, there is generational trauma, for example, that when you're born into certain bodies, you are going to access the trauma of that race that you're born into, whatever historical traumas have happened to that race. You're also exposed to whatever traumas happened in your ancestors' lives that weren't resolved. Could be things to do with finances, could be things to do with relationships, bad marriages, bad patterns in relationships, unsuccessful marriages, financial losses. There could be things that were experienced a few generations back, like wars. You could be born into a country or a culture that went through a lot of war or famines or poverty, civil wars, plagues, all this kind of stuff, right, happened to our ancestors. If you're European like me, you could have things like the witch hunts that happened in Europe. You could have you know, your tribal lineages could have gone through, you know, been under attack for purging of your tribe. There could have been other, you know, when the Romans came in, for example, to what is now England and Ireland and Scotland, that area, Wales, there was a lot of killing of tribal groups that were in the areas, indigenous people, and, you know, the old herbal medicines and things were all wiped out. So a lot of ancestral wisdom was killed off during some of those events. So I'm just giving you examples. There's a lot of things that have gone on our planet if you just go back a few generations, okay? And our grandparents, our great-grandparents, you know, our grandparents went through World War II, our great-grandparents, and farther back, all of our ancestors have gone through very intense experiences on this planet. And that is still alive in our DNA. And we inherit that, and we inherit trauma through our DNA. So what I like to do during the eclipse portal, when that hallway is open, is to use a form of magic that is just called statements. I'm just going to call it statements. And what you're doing is you're tapping into the fact that you are in this matrix, but you're a sovereign being. You're connected to the divine, and you are the forefront of your lineage. You are it. You are the one here that is the current representative and spokesperson for your lineage going all the way back and all those generations behind you. And if you are the black sheep of the family in this lifetime, if you identify with that story, if you are, then you may be a generational curse breaker. And your job is a very sacred and amazing mission of breaking up a lot of those patterns and being the one who does not carry them forward. Now, a lot of us have chosen not to have children in this lifetime. And you may recall some point in your life where you decided not to on purpose because subconsciously you knew you didn't want to pass on the patterns that you experienced in your family of origin. So if you're like resonating with any of this that I'm saying, then I'm making this video for you. And what we're going to do today is I'm going to give you an illustration of some statements that you can use, and you can repeat them after me, and you can also, like I always say, take what I'm giving you and chew on it like gum. So after you get my example, you can work on this by yourself and come up with your own statements that feel right for you over the next 2 weeks. Okay, and so if you find yourself out for a walk or out on a drive alone and you want to play with saying some statements, you can play with what I'm going to teach you right now. So this is basically a form of magic, but it's not magic in the sense of witchcraft or Wicca or lighting candles. We're not going to do any of that. What we're going to do is just tap into your sovereign identity that exists beyond this current incarnation, beyond this current timeline, just by being aware. I'm more than this current life. I'm more than the stories that I've had in this lifetime. I extend back farther than that. Even though there's a veil of forgetfulness that we dive in and pass through when we come here so that we can't remember everything from the other side until we leave the body and we go back through the death experience, and then we have our life review and like remember the things that we agreed to do here and kind of go through a checkpoint of like, how did I do on my things I signed up for and stuff like that, right? Right now we don't have that memory. Some of us do, but you have to do a lot of work to gain access to that memory, right? And sometimes it's spotty. But anyway, we're going to trust and have faith in the fact that we exist beyond this lifetime, and we're going to speak as our sovereign selves that extend outside of this body, outside of this lifetime, outside of this current incarnation. And we're going to say a bunch of powerful, magical statements over our lives and over our lineages. And as the spokesperson of our DNA. We are carrying our DNA, therefore we have the absolute right to speak over it. Okay, so I'm going to give you examples. You can just listen. You can try it later. You can come up with your own statements, or you can go ahead and dive in and just repeat everything after me. And I'm just going to kind of free flow with you and give you some examples of the way that I do statements. And then you can take this and use this yourself going forward. Okay? So let's just do it now. I'm going to just use my visualization and my imagination. And I'm going to just imagine myself stepping through that stargate like in the movies, and we're stepping into that stargate and we're finding ourselves suspended in space, in the space outside of Earth. Okay, so if you look down, you see the planet the way that you've seen it in movies or in images from NASA or satellites or whatever, of this beautiful planet below us, and we're just kind of suspended in space. Okay, and on one end is one portal and on the other end is another one. You can use your imagination and imagine yourself in a long hallway, and it's dark and you're suspended in it. You can imagine yourself standing on a bridge that's white light, and you've got a portal ahead of you and a portal behind you, and you're in a corridor. Okay, and it's very quiet. There's maybe that sound of white noise. And now I want you to feel into, however you can, using your imagination. You can close your eyes for this if you want. I want you to feel into yourself and find a feeling of yourself as being a being that goes beyond this lifetime and beyond this current incarnation. I want you to imagine yourself as a being who knew what you were doing when you came here, signed up for a whole bunch of stuff that you're currently working your way through, and when you die, you will go back out and you'll kind of check off, how did I do? I want you to just use your imagination to imagine that you are that. Okay, and now I'm just going to talk, and what I'm going to do is use commands and statements, okay? So I'm going to imagine myself doing this, and you can follow along if you want. So I'm speaking as a sovereign being who is connected directly to the source. By my birthright, I am connected directly to the source energy, and I have authority to speak over my DNA. As the current holder of the DNA that's running through my body and through my blood, I speak as a spokesperson for my DNA and on behalf of my ancestors and my whole lineage. And I speak over every timeline and every dimension. And I cancel and revoke, and I revoke consent of any contracts that were ever made by any one of my ancestors in any past lifetime. And thus, in my current life, I cancel the karmic effects of any contracts that were agreed to by my ancestors in any previous lifetime. I cancel those contracts and I revoke consent. I do not consent to play out the karmic debt or to be on the receiving end of experiences of punishment or hardship or difficulty related to any past contracts that were agreed to by former members of my ancestry. I do not agree to any of the contracts that they agreed to. I don't consent to continue any contracts that they agreed to. And so I do not agree or consent to live out any patterns that are the result of contracts that they agreed to. I cancel all of those in my life. I cancel any recurring patterns that I have been experiencing in this lifetime that are related to or a result of contracts or agreements that were made by former members of my lineage. Any blessings or boons or rewards that should have been granted to me that were taken away from me, that were blocked, come to me now. Any rewards that should be coming to me because of my hard work and efforts that have in any way been taken away from me or blocked, come to me now. Any beings that are acting in any way to block me, obstruct me, block my rewards, block my blessings, or cause me hardship or create obstacles in my life, or attack me in any way on any level through finances, relationships, health, or my spiritual understanding or my spiritual growth or my progress on my mission that I signed up to do. If any of those beings have been acting against me in my life, justifying their actions against me with contracts that were agreed to by past ancestors of mine, they no longer have any authority to do so, because I hereby revoke all consent and agreement to any such contracts. In this lifetime, I do not agree to any contracts that were agreed to by anyone who comes before me in my lineage, including my mother and my father. Even things that they agreed to in this lifetime, I don't consent to. So be it. I say this to be true across all dimensions and all timelines. So be it. Okay, that's just an example, okay? I'm kind of doing it on the fly, and I'm not using any specific thing in my head. So, if you have something specific in your life, like a pattern that has been repeating for many, many years that you just feel like you're stuck in a loop and you can't get out of, you can adapt to say some things kind of like what I'm saying based on your own information, okay? I'm just kind of giving you an example for like a general framework of like how to talk and how to do it. So you imagine you're standing in that place outside of time and space, right? And you're commanding these things to be true. It's important that you say that you're sovereign, and the authority that you have that you're speaking is that you're directly connected to the source, that you were born in and given this address in time space with this DNA, and that's what gives you the authority to say these things. It's also important that you just notice I kept repeating the part about the contracts. You're not accepting, you're not consenting to carry forward any contracts that were made in the past. Why do we say that? Because there have been a lot of magical folk religions and things practiced in the past on this planet by people in our ancestry that we may not be even aware of. Like, we may have had ancestors who were practicing witchcraft or going to, their local voodoo guy to get a spell made or whatever. We want to cancel any kind of energetic contracts and spells and things that could be existing in the like subconscious human soup of the energy realm that could be like affecting us, like curses or things like that in our lives at this time. And then making blanket statements like that can cancel those things out without us having to know what they are, right? You're just kind of canceling it all out. Like, if I had an ancestor 3 generations back who was practicing witchcraft, and they were doing some things that aren't ethical, and they did something, they cast some kind of spell, or they did some kind of thing to hurt somebody else, that karma could be still lingering around. Or if I want to give you some examples of the kinds of things that people used to be doing, right? There could have been some woman in a village, and she, had a romantic affair with somebody who was married, and the wife of that guy went and put a spell on her that for the rest of time her womb would be like, well, that scared me. That's confirmation. You might need to do this kind of work, okay? I was just saying, like, people did a lot of this kind of stuff in the past. So somebody could have cursed one of your ancestors' wombs to always have miscarriages, or to never be able to get pregnant, or that none of your relationships would ever work out, right? And this kind of shit can be lingering in, like, the human collective subconscious astral soup. So magically, as beings, like healer beings and light worker beings and stuff like that, we just want to cancel out any past magic that was being done by any of our ancestors, because ultimately magic is a low vibe we shouldn't be engaging in. Okay, we shouldn't be doing those kinds of things. And if you are doing those kinds of things in this lifetime, you need to, reflect on that, because what magical practices is basically an attempt to control reality by, like, using various techniques to, like, control the energy of, like, there's different things that were done, okay? Whether they were, I don't want to talk about it too much because it's not great energy. You can look into it if you want to. Magic is always done by making some kind of a blood sacrifice, or like calling on a spirit and binding it and making it do your bidding, or using the elements and using the power of the elements and binding them and forcing them to do some spell that you create. Like, there's a lot of binding and control and manipulation, and then there are contracts that are created that last across generations and last across lifetimes. And don't be doing that shit. Don't be doing love spells to try to get your ex back. Don't do that kind of stuff. You do not want to be creating lasting contracts that endure across lifetimes that your ancestors are going to have to deal with. Okay, so we're trying to cancel out that kind of stuff. So that's just like a mini version of the kind of stuff you want to do, because remember, with law of assumption, you're stepping into a version of reality where you're not being this puppet master manipulator, and you're also not a victim of everything happening to you. You're sovereign. You're sovereign, and you're speaking as a sovereign being in control of your reality, generating your reality, right? So I like to once a year do these kinds of statements to clear out anything that I've noticed coming up in my own psychology throughout the year. If there's any relationship patterns repeating, any troubles that I see repeating in the area of my finances, my health, my relationships, you can do something like this. It works with the energy of the subconscious. Remember, our subconscious is not literal and verbal. Our subconscious works in the realm of dreams and imagery and symbols. And so when we work with the subconscious, we use the realm of imagination and symbols and stuff like that. So I hope this gives you something to try, something you can try in your own life. And yeah, if it's for you, use it. If it's not, it's fine. It's just a tool to put in your tool belt. Okay? Have a really good eclipse season. And yeah, get out, look at the sky, and I'll post some cool podcasts below that you can listen to when you're driving or out walking the dog with some headphones on or whatever, on a long flight, whatever you like to do to listen to podcasts. And yeah, I'll see you after eclipse season with more content. Okay, see you later. Bye.